So our presentation here today, a new energy revolution. If you came in because you thought we were going to have new energy, some magic bullet that was going to save us all, that's not what it's about, unfortunately. The revolution is electricity. The new ways that we all are learning to collect energy, transform it into electricity, how to store that energy, and then how to export it. And in our case, how we're able to export that energy on wheels, mobile distributed energy, if you will. So there's a lot of concepts that are brand new. There's a revolution taking place when it comes to electricity, and it's showing up in unique ways because it really requires some new sheet of the paper thinking to start using this new way. So my name is Gary Dannar. The company is Dannar, and our product is Mobile Power Station. We've been working on this concept for a long time. I'll show you that in a few slides. We're from Indiana. Those palm trees are not on our site. We were invited a couple of months ago to really introduce what is our fourth generation product, is what you're looking at. This is a first of its kind all-electric off-road 15,000-pound vehicle full of electronics, full of hydraulics, ready to work. And that's what this convention is about, and what we've been attending here for over 25 years is understanding the infrastructure maintenance need and the public works that are focused on work every day, and that's what this vehicle's about. Now, why we introduced this on the West Coast in San Diego at Hotel Del Coronado as we were invited out there because understanding this new product, we utilized an automotive electric battery. And we were invited to come out to the Advanced Automotive Battery Conference in San Diego. We're really launching this vehicle here publicly today, but we had a little bit of a preview a couple of months ago, only because of our automotive battery background and our strategy. The strategy for us in product development for any equipment that is being used by Public Works is try to pick off-the-shelf, high-volume parts that are already in your parts bins, already understood by your technicians, so that a new vehicle comes along with the lowest cost possible because the parts are already in high-volume supply, in production, and they're already in the system and people understand it. We were able to do that with all the mechanicals and the hydraulics, but when it came to electronics, batteries, really the only place we could go was to the automotive industry. And this was in 2007 when we started this project. We had great components, familiar names that you would understand, like Dana Axles and Terrell Gearboxes and Spicer and Parker Hydraulics and Cummins. Great partners that were engineering along with us, but we didn't have a great electronic partner. So the best way to start with high volume electric parts that you're missing is simply recognize that those products, let me try to get this going correctly here. I want to show you a quick video. There we go. In 2011, if you were looking for a good battery, an inverter, a converter, a charger, you would need to go buy a car, and that's what we did. We put our name on a list. We bought the first Chevrolet Volt that came into town, and we understood that the high volume, the best parts that were available from General Motors resided in that car. So that started our 2011 Volt concept product development 7 years ago. Our effort to start building the first off-road electric vehicle. We understood that the parts list we were looking for were in the vehicle. We needed to carefully start disassembling that, cataloging all those parts, carefully keeping computers and modules alive, adjusting the software as we disassembled, making sure that what we would end up with was a fully functional battery and all of those components in the battery management system. At the end of the day, that looks like that happened very quickly. It basically was about a 2-month process, and we ended up with this beautiful proof of concept machine. You see a lot of Caterpillar there, off-road. There's Parker, Ford New Holland, all sorts of off-road equipment there. But most importantly, the silver battery there in the front, the Chevrolet Volt, that's probably the best automobile battery around at that time. And you see our Volt that in the background had really given up everything. This was the most important thing that it could give up. This is where all the logic and the intelligence was in that vehicle. That's where that battery management system resides. So our concept vehicle, which you can see in the booth over here, this vehicle would start up every morning thinking it was a Chevrolet Volt, had that personality of a car, and that's what we were after right there. You'd say, why does the world need one of those? Let's go back 100 years. Late 1800s, electricity's around, internal combustion's around, most of it's in buildings, trying to figure out transportation. What people were really looking for is how can we make that new technology in the late 1800s, how can we bring that to the forest, to the agriculture fields, how can we start working with that, replacing horses and so forth. And it shows up here on the left, power on wheels, if you will, power on tracks. First examples in the early 1900s. And you can see over 100 years, you can see that evolution actually here on the floor. I mean, it has been wonderful. You have specific industries of airports, public works, all sorts of different industries that have equipment that has evolved to be perfected to do single purpose tasks. And it's all about agriculture and building businesses and building cities and infrastructure and so forth. What we're looking for is electric that can transform. Electricity allows us to do that. A packaging so that there's plenty of attachments right in this booth to the left, right here next to me on the right. There's all kinds of wonderful attachments that can flex with you as a public works and be able to perform that day's task. But you need a platform. So our platform on the far right is the idea that we can be full of electricity, full of hydraulics, and anything on the top surface can be configured the way you would like it to be. It can be a dump bed, it can be a scissor lift, it could be a water tank. On the front nose, you could put a hybrid diesel generator there, a Cummins 60 kW, a fuel cell, CNG, more batteries. The idea is the configurability is yours to decide how you want the top of this to look and how each end gets to receive attachments. That is the objective. It's much more than just power on wheels like it was 100 years ago. Now it's power on wheels that can transform. It's power on wheels that can be what you want it to be next week and next season and so forth. And so it does all these things, all of the things that attachments allow you to do and perform. But more importantly, with electricity on board, now, and Public Works are always asked to be early responders with heavy duty equipment. It now responds in the right configuration for the flood, the right configuration for a mudslide, a snowstorm, or tornado, whatever the event is, you can configure that vehicle correctly and then show up, help those early responders do the work, the recovery, but then stay there as electricity. It's a mobile generator that is remote control, or you can drive it your choice. So that is the other side of that coin. What you end up with is really three very strong principles of equipment that can be flexible. One, infrastructure maintenance. It's designed to work every day, every week, every season. So that's the most important task for all of us, is how can we configure and work this machine, whether we want to do it by remote control or whether we want to put a cab on it. All of the attachments that you probably already have fit on this vehicle and will work every day. But if there's a disaster, it can respond. It can respond appropriately and then provide power and energy. The utility, and it's a smart export utility. We can charge up your golf cart, we can charge up your car, we can charge up your building, we can charge it in 220, we can charge it in 110. So the idea is you have intelligent export capability to give up that electricity. It's not just about work, and it's not about just response. You can see that configurability is a concept that makes sense to a lot of people. I like this slide and this picture of Volvo because they're recognized, like many global partners, they're looking at the future forward. How can we get more out of equipment off-road? It says autonomous electric here, so when you put that much intelligence on board to manage electricity, now you have a connected vehicle. Now you can really have a vehicle that can perhaps be assisted driving, assisted operations, even autonomous operations. You see the similarity here, that we have a platform where all the electricity storage resides, an off-road four-wheel drive platform. It's the top surface that is configurable, that can be plug and play. Even General Motors has the same concept. The difference between General Motors and these two examples is the General Motors, for all I know, is still a concept on paper. Volvo, I do know from public press releases that the Q4 of this year, fourth quarter, this vehicle will actually go into some trials and some testing operations. Compared to us, we started, as you saw, back in 2011 with this concept. And this is where we're at today in 2018, after 4 generations of evolution and partners like BMW and others I mentioned earlier, that the platform, all the battery energy storage resides belt line and below. If you look at this area here, you can start with a base platform, and now you get to choose, do we want a hybrid vehicle with a diesel 60 kW generator on board? Do we want CNG? Do we want more batteries? Do we want a cab? That's all configurable. You don't have to make a decision and say, I'm going to have to order it that way, turnkey, and live with it for the next 12 years. The idea is this can flex as seasons change and as needs change. You can change that configuration. And certainly the ends of the vehicle can accept any attachment, any attachment. It's not about work. It's not just about work. It's about just providing power. And so now all of a sudden, power can be put in place for an event in the city. It can be clean, it can be quiet, it can power those tents all weekend long. The nice thing about having clean and quiet power is now you open up public spaces that normally couldn't have been used because there wasn't a power grid there wasn't electricity, and maybe they didn't allow diesel generators on the beach like they don't in California. So now you can actually have those spaces, any space, be able to be an event location. And so it's about export as well. Always ready to work though. Maybe on the weekend it was about the event, and on Monday it's about, those two slides don't work too well together. Beach and snow, I guess that's kind of it's about work. And it's about work in different locations. Airports, marine ports. You can see how it can be configured, but it's always ready to respond. It's always ready to be responded. In this case, the vehicle is able to be submerged to 4 feet of water. The last thing I'll mention that is becoming very clear and what we're doing very uniquely with electricity is because of recent developments, we know how to collect energy, we know how to store it, and we know how to export it. We might as well make this a very flexible, transformable energy station, meaning that this works off-grid. You can put this energy station at the trailhead, you can put it anywhere you want, you can put it strategically as an energy source for your vehicles. So you would have a collection of electric vehicles that are collecting energy in the canopy, storing it in the vehicles, and sharing it and charging vehicles back up. And you can do that off-grid. Now you have the choice to do it on-grid. Maybe you want to take this energy that's there and share it with a building or two, the command center, the 911 call center. It's your choice. The idea is after you put this type of infrastructure in place, the daily cost of operation of that is zero. You all have fuel budgets. You are getting power off of a grid and paying for that, or you have fuel that you're paying for. With this energy station that you get to select how you use it and size it, from that day forward, you're collecting your own energy that shows up every morning, you're storing it, and then you're distributing it to your own vehicles. And the cost of that was zero. So I'll close by saying this product is on GSA. We are in the booth over here, and the questions that you might have, I'm happy to take those now, but we have engineers and technicians and product support people that can answer any of your questions about the product, about the energy station. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes? I appreciate the question of the typical battery life because I didn't cover that, so normal. We can put up to 12 i3 car batteries. Our partner for 2 years has been BMW. So again, high volume, electric, high quality. We've been working with BMW as an engineering partner and as a supply partner. So in a case, we can have up to 504 kilowatts of batteries on board. It's pretty amazing. You have the ability to flex 3 batteries, 6, 9, or 12. And the charging capability, of course, reflects to that. To put that in perspective, it would be like charging up 12 BMW i3s or charging up 5 Teslas. There's a lot of energy here, and that's probably the biggest point of why this off-road equipment works so well, is you can now configure the amount of energy you need to have on board in order to complete the work that you need. Does that answer that?
Battery life, how long?
I always miss that. Batteries are warranted for 10 years. 10 years. Other questions? Hey, thank you very much. I sure appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you soon.
One and 12 for the winner of the Yeti.